From the moment I drove past Skoolie Carol standing next to her yellow bus with the tie-dyed psychedelic curtains in the window, I knew I just had to meet her. And I was right. It has been a delightful experience getting to know Skoolie Carol. Never a dull moment with this lady. In this video, Carol shares how becoming a nomad changed her life. She also shares how someone just starting out can do so with simple, basic systems that won't break the bank. Stay tuned for a follow-up budget video with Carol. And if you haven't seen my very first interview and tour with Carol, go back and check it out. It is really a hoot. Well, come on, let's go meet up with Skoolie Carol and hear about her first year in her bus. Well, hello, Skoolie Carol.
Well, hello, Carol.
Well, we are meeting up again. We've met up a couple times since I first interviewed you back in November of 2020. In fact, you were one of my very first interviews. And you had been on the road for what, about 3 weeks?
Yes, I was on the road for 3 weeks, and we met in California.
And so how long had you actually been living stationary in your schoolie before we met?
I lived in it approximately 6 months while I was finishing up my job, and it gave me time to fix everything the way I wanted it.
So if possible, do you suggest that people do that who are just moving into a vehicle, stay stationary first?
I would suggest it, and you figure out your own time frame. Do it for a month, do it for 3 weeks, do it for 2 months.
Would you say basically that you were forced to move into your schoolie?
Emotionally and financially, I felt I was, because all I could see was, okay, yes, I do have a job, so I get to go to work every day, come home, pay a rent that I can barely afford. Okay, now my Social Security check's gone. I paid my rent. Now I get to go to work every day, come home, and sit in my apartment because I have no leftover money to do anything fun or pleasurable.
So for you, has this been, would you say this is the right choice for you?
It's the right choice for me. It's been a real game changer.
When you say game changer, how so?
I've been on the road for a year. I've made all my bill payments. I buy my gas. I buy my food. But I have seen every friend that I haven't seen in years, and I've seen sights and experiences that I never, ever, ever would have been able to have.
So when you say you see your friends and hadn't seen them for years, why hadn't you seen them for years?
Financial again. I went to work every day just so I could pay my rent. I couldn't travel anywhere.
All right. So part of the reason that I'm doing this video is because of all the people, as I said earlier, who write to me and say, I'm scared, I'm panicked, I'm having to move into a vehicle because I can't afford rent. And a lot of these individuals are older, single or solo females. So what would you say are some of the main things that you would suggest to someone if you had to do it over again and you could change anything or do something the same? What would you say a person must have or really should have before they embark upon a nomad lifestyle?
Have your ducks in a row.
And by your ducks in a row, what do you mean?
I started out with a little bit of debt, which is wrong. I would fix that. I just saw YouTube and said, don't do this. on Social Security. Well, I've been doing it for a year on Social Security. So I don't know why people say that.
So it can be done on a modest Social Security.
Absolutely.
Would you say, when you say modest, would you say it could be done on $800 a month?
I've met a couple that have. Personally, that would be a little tight for me because, once again, it would restrict my travel ability.
But if a person wanted to do it and stay stationary, say for a couple months at a time, would that be doable?
I think between 800 and 1,000, and you didn't move a lot, you could definitely do it.
So what equipment would you say that you really cannot exist as a nomad without?
You should have a cooking facility.
Okay.
I have a 2-burner, which I think is perfect. A lot of people have a 1-burner. That's a Coleman propane.
And you do all your cooking on this?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
And that because you save money from
You can
eating out.
Save a lot of money. A lot of money.
Okay. And then
because you go to Walmart and the dollar store, and you can get every bit of food you want.
All right. Now, also, I see you have a water container here, and has that been really an essential for you?
For me, that's an essential, because for me, that's when people say, well, you don't even have running water. I go, yes, I do.
Okay. And this cost you how much?
This container was at Walmart, and it was so reasonable. It was like maybe $9-10.
Okay.
It holds 3 gallons.
And that's sufficient for you for about how long?
Well, depends on what you're doing. You know, I wash my hair here in the sink. Then I come and get my pan with water, and I do use the big kettle to heat my water.
So how much water would you say is sufficient for you to travel with?
Well, depends on where you're going. In the winter, I go out in the desert a lot. Then you need more. Then I personally would prefer to have 2 of these. That gives you 6 gallons, and then maybe a couple other gallons in a jug, or however you want to do it.
So maybe about 10 gallons altogether?
I like 10 gallons because I do the majority of my bathing in my bus. A lot of people don't. I like to bathe in my bus, and then I have to cook. That cooking doesn't take very much water, actually.
So you're doing this without a large gray water or freshwater tank. You just have this and another one like it, and then you carry individual water jugs.
Couple extra.
Okay, so you can do it without a mounted water tank, a very basic setup.
My friend offered to install some tanks, and I said absolutely not. I want to be minimalist. I don't want maintenance.
Okay.
I want very little maintenance. Here's where my gray water goes. Right down the hose into a 5-gallon jug.
Okay.
You can pull over almost anywhere and dump it in 2 minutes.
So let's talk about your sleeping arrangements, and have you found those to be adequate?
I personally do. The guy I bought from did this built-in bed. I absolutely love it. He put the right mattresses on it, and it's comfortable. But what I love is, once again, for under $10 or about $10, I have a nice, comfy place to sleep. But you just prop up your pillows and your blankets and put a little bed rest, and now you have a little day bed. You have a nice place you can just hang out, read, watch videos.
So you also were telling me that the bed's a little high, so you do storage underneath?
He built it a little extra high so that the hole underneath is storage, and there's a ton of storage under there.
So when I initially interviewed you, you had a toilet in here. Do you still have a toilet in here?
I do not. The toilet was right over there. And for me, it was on that maintenance list. You have to take it apart. You have to empty it. You have to find a appropriate place to empty it. That's too much maintenance. I didn't like it.
So you had what was it, a cassette toilet then?
Cassette toilet.
Okay,
where the two parts come apart.
Okay, so what are you using now?
I'm on the bucket method. The good old bucket method.
All right, so do you do everything in there?
I do everything in here, and then I tie it up and I throw it away.
So you would say, for simplicity, you don't need to start out with a cassette. Just use a simple bucket for what you're saying.
Just use a bucket. Some people buy the 5-gallon bucket for $1 at Home Depot. I just like the little, they're basic. This is basically a wastebasket.
Okay. And that works fine for you?
Works perfect. Simple. And when I took the toilet out, my friend said, I could put a little rod in there and you could actually have a closet. And I said, call me crazy, but I'd rather have a closet than a toilet that I don't even like.
A lot of people say that it's really impractical to try and do Nomad life without a refrigerator. And in fact, when we first met, you had a refrigerator, but in looking around, I don't see one now. So have you gotten rid of your refrigerator, or what's happening with that?
I had my refrigerator for 6 months. I loved it because I could run it off my solar. It malfunctioned. I sent it back to Amazon. They gave me my money back, and now I have a 50-quart, the best cooler I could find at Walmart.
Okay, and are you finding that is sufficient for you right now?
I've been using it for, 6 months. It works for me because, once again, you can get cheap ice at Walmart. If you go to a gas station, it's $3. Walmart's $1.45. Come on.
You're saying that for 6 months you've been doing Nomad life with no refrigeration, and it can be done without a refrigerator if you don't have the funds initially to do it.
It can absolutely be done.
So it sounds like you're able to do it without a refrigerator, without tanks, without a toilet,
without a tank,
without water tanks, and just
minimal.
I'm sorry?
Very minimal.
Very minimal. Okay. So
the basics. I just have the basics. The very basics. That's all I have.
And would you say you're pretty comfortable with just these basics?
I'm very comfortable.
So for people who are starting out, they need a comfortable bed.
Yes, comfortable bed. A little cooking unit. Butane or propane.
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
Some way to carry water.
Some way to carry water. Some way to collect your gray water. A big jug.
A way to keep clean.
Way to keep clean. Wash up.
So in conclusion, Carol, can you explain to people the difference between the life that you were living before in your apartment and the life you're living now, and if the decision to live this Nomad life was worth it? What's the difference?
For me, the big difference is the freedom, the ability. I was so stuck. I was so stuck financially. If you're the type of person that can go to work every day and then go sit in your little apartment, then that's fine. I can't live that way. I was just existing. I'd go to work, I'd come home, I'd pay my rent, I'd pay my utilities, and buy my food, and then the money was gone.
Okay.
And I couldn't go out to dinner with my friends. I couldn't go see any of my nieces because they live in other states. All my friends live in other states. I missed an epic wedding. I missed my niece's epic, and it was epic wedding. Couldn't get there. Had no money to travel. If I'd had my bus, I would have jumped right in my bus and away I'd go.
Yeah.
Which
So,
is what I've been doing for the past year. I have seen every friend that I hadn't seen in 5 years. I've seen them all.
so in conclusion, it sounds like what you're saying is for people who are really just living from paycheck to paycheck or from Social Security check to Social Security check, just surviving, that for you, this has been a tremendous improvement in your life.
Tremendous improvement for my life, because I've always been an adventurer and a traveler. And then to hit 65, 66, go on Social Security, and then realize, oh, wait a minute, I still have to work, and I have to work full time. That was a real kick in the head for me.
So now you are doing some seasonal work, and we'll talk about that when we go over the budget video, but you don't have to work constantly now, is what you've told me.
That's one of the big beauties of this lifestyle. I will explain later how, yeah, I have found remote jobs, and they're perfect for me. You can work 1 month, maybe 2 months, and then you can go do what you want. Go see your friends. Go see a monument and a mountain and a ocean.
Well, thank you so much, Carol. Just so people can know, how old are you now?
I am 73 and a half.
Okay. All right.
I love it when kids say that.
All right. Well, thank you. And we're going to do another video on budget. So Globies, stay tuned. But again, we're not talking directly so much to people who have loads and loads of income and are doing this necessarily by choice. We're talking more in this video to individuals who are finding themselves forced to do this lifestyle, and the freedom, the independence, and some of the joy that it's brought back into your life, if that's what I'm hearing you say.
Thank you. That's a key word. If this is what you have to do, at least try and explore it to get joy and fulfillment back in your life. Try it. Just try it.
At any age.
At any age. It's not a lifetime commitment.
That's right.
If I want to stop tomorrow, I'll figure out a way to stop. But I love it.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Carol. And we look forward to talking to you and hearing about your budget video.